Hello, my name is Glenn Matsumoto. I'm an American architect. Um, just to give you some background, I graduated from Harvard University, with a master's degree in urban design and architecture. And I only say that to give some credibility and credentials to what I'm about to give you as a perspective on my return after 40 years to Srinagar and Kashmir. Um, upon my 40 years ago, I first came to Kashmir um, as a young man. And I was this time, 40 years later, I returned with my wife to show it first time, and I was quite dismayed and upset, disturbed a bit about what has happened to beautiful Dal Lake area since that time. For years, I've been telling friends and my wife about how beautiful Dal Lake used to be, with its clear waters, free of a lot of the weeds and beautiful trees that used to line the causeway that went to the Mughal Bridge. And I was quite dismayed yesterday when we went there and saw how it exists today. And I'd like to speak to you about from an architectural and environmental point of view because that's what I've done all my life. I'm a highly regarded professional. I've done international work all over the world and huge projects from the Mideast to Singapore, the United States, Malaysia, etc. So I know have a lot of experience in this, and I think there's ways to look at from an outsider's point of view that maybe help you, guide you to rectifying what I've seen as an extreme deterioration of the environment around Dal Lake area. Um, First off, uh, uh, Dal Lake is now fully clogged with these water lilies, I believe, and floating gardens that I was quite shocked to see that the former expanse of water when I was here 40 years ago, when we went up to the Kashid Gardens, you could turn around and see the beautiful lake below you with water in front of the causeway, the Mogul Bridge, beautiful trees that line both the approaches to the Mogul Bridge. Spectacularly beautiful, uh, very ethereal and romantic view of Dal Lake and beyond. Beyond the other side of Mogul Bridge and the causeway where the trees used to be was also clear water as far as you could see to the other shore where the trees started. And now what you see is really what looks like a swampy, um, not a very impressive looking body of water. And this has actually occurred in other places in the world, and I've seen also in the U.S. and other places that there are programs where this can be reconciled, and uh, with determined purpose, one can correct this and restore things back to a more of a natural state. It takes dedication. It takes a strong will on the not just the government, but the community itself to recognize what they have here as an asset and have the will and determination to turn this around. And it can be done. Besides, it doesn't have to be done in one fell swoop, where that's very intimidating. Trying to clear out a whole lake as big as Dal Lake in 1 year or one season, for instance. But if you start now, you take small steps, do a little each year to clear the water, turn around in 5 8 years, you could actually have a clear lake uh, to bring tourists and visitors alike back to Kashmir. Right now, I would look at this from an outsider's perspective as what is not a very appealing draw anymore to come to look at Dal Lake. I think with a little bit of a lot of care, a lot of dedication is and infused from the government and particularly the community into recognizing clear water. I would highly recommend restoration of that beautiful causeway, that the walkway that used to have the trees lined along there to and restoration of the Moga Bridge would help the economy because it would draw more visitors. People would want to come back and see this beautiful romantic uh, view of the lake and beyond. So I think was, it's very imperative that you try and have a program to start diminishing the amount of the weeds in the lake and clearing it, and not only that, but having programs to get rid of garbage that's floating around. But who wants to come to Dal Lake and see bottles and plates and plastic floating around in the water? It's not very appealing. Like I said, in the U.S., they've had some programs where they've gone in and actually cleared slowly by slowly, have turned around formerly very polluted water and turned it into very clear, engaging parts of the community. So I would encourage you, from an environmentalist point of view, to really take these measures now before it's too late. Because once it's too late and the sediment clogs up at the roots of the plants and builds up, and then more plants grow, it'll become soil. And so what is Dal Lake except if it turns into a bunch of landfill looking, that no one will want to come, and Kashmir will have lost a really great asset that has drawn people for generations to this area. So I highly encourage you to do that, and also to try and have strict zoning and establish some strict zoning on the buildings that get built along this beautiful asset, that they are all compatible, low scale, have harmonious color. Signage is very important so things that have a cohesive nature. If you look at Najin Lake, which they have many different kinds of houseboats around, yet they hold together in a cohesive whole because of the architecture and the heritage expressed in those same the houseboats. Even though they're very different, together they look in harmony, and in harmony with the lake itself. And the clarity of the water here, much better. So I hope this recommendation from someone who's traveled the world for decades, and that hopefully next time we will come to Kashmir, they will see some steps in place to try and rectify this very disappointing, dismaying condition of Dal Lake. Thank you.